Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next 2 hours, along with Steve.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And Jorvik is here.
Hello.
Hello. Nick or Mike or Spence are probably not going to be with us. I know where Nick and Mike are. They're just leaving the airport here in Raleigh. I got to meet Nick in person last night.
Oh, first time.
First time.
Did you give him a slap?
No.
For all those times that he's annoyed you in the past?
No.
Okay.
No. He's a very, very nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice young man, yeah.
Yep. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And this morning's show is made possible by Telestream's Wirecast software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. For me, this was so far a lot of activity this weekend. There is an event over downtown at the museum about the Vietnam experience. So I was asked to bring a vehicle. So I took the truck yesterday, and today after the show, I'm going to go down there with the Jeep for a while. It was nice yesterday. A bunch of people that wanted to see all these things. It's encouraging, kind of. And we have
gives the vehicles a run as well, doesn't it?
Sorry, what?
It gives the chance for the vehicles to have a run.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's important to do that with them. How's the weather over there these days?
Glorious at the moment. It's quite nice. It's a little bit breezy at times, but the weather's nice and warm. Sun's out. Yes, quite nice. Yesterday and today was nice.
And Jorvik, you were traveling.
Yes, been out and about. We've been away for a few days, and the weather's been gorgeous.
Nice. How many miles did you put on the car? You don't know.
He's probably running out to check as we speak.
To check how many miles.
I don't know. I think maybe he didn't hear you. How many miles did you put on the speedometer or mileometer, Mike?
Oh, about 600-700.
You really didn't hear me?
I'm just adjusting my sound. I'll be back in a minute.
Well, stop it.
Oh,
I don't know. These people that adjust things when they come in.
No, it's perfect.
I always get it. Get it right before I come in.
Nah, it's all
But then he has got 27 sound cards, so that's acceptable.
It's always acceptable. Don't worry about it, Jorvik.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's just that it was all sort of faint, but I realised why. We're back again.
All right.
That's awesome. Good morning, Jane, in the chat. If you want to come to the chat, by the way, just go to Computers 2K now, click on Watch Live on the left-hand side, and then you'll see there's a chat that you can pop into. You can either pop up the chat or you can go into the chat and join us if you're not able to call in.
Yep. Absolutely. So what's happening?
I was going to say participation in any form is appreciated.
Always. It's just going to go downhill if you don't participate.
Exactly.
So what's happening on your side of the pond? Anything to
Well,
to
funny enough, I said to Mike this morning, I usually look at my RSS feeds first thing in the morning to see what's new in the tech world and, gadgets and things like that. And I was really disappointed. I know Sundays are generally quite quiet anyway, and there's not a great deal to say that is new coming in. But this morning was, well, I think there was 11 feeds telling me of new posts on Engadget and places like that. So very disappointing, even for a Sunday.
oh, what do you mean? 11 is not enough?
Well, no, normally there's, sort of 20, 25 on a Sunday, but there was only 11 this morning. So, yeah, I looked through and I thought, well, there's nothing interesting I can talk about on the show today in that. In those 11, come on, I need some more. I need input for the show. What's
Mhm.
going on?
Not much happening in the technical world, is there?
I think everyone's waiting for spring. Now it's here.
Yeah, it's here. It's here. I was actually hot yesterday. And they said that's it. We're not supposed to have any more freezing. So we'll see.
Yeah, they've been wrong before. Don't hold your breath.
But here's a story about your side of the pond. On Saturday morning, July 2011, Nigel Lang, then age 44, was at home in Sheffield with his partner and 2-year-old son when there was a knock at the door. He opened it to find a man and 2 women standing there, one of whom asked if he lived at the address. When he said he did, the 3 strangers pushed past him, and one of the women, who identified herself as a police officer, told Lang and his partner he was going to be arrested on suspicion of possessing indecent images of children. He was told that when police requested detail about an IP address connected to a sharing of indecent images of children, one extra keystroke was made by mistake, sending police to entirely the wrong physical location. But it would take years and a drawn-out legal processes to get answers about why this had happened to him, to force police to admit their mistake, and even longer to begin to get his and his family's lives back on track. Police paid him 60,000 British pounds, which is about 73,500, in compensation last fall after settling out of court 2 years after they finally said sorry and removed the wrongful arrest from his record. Can you imagine? In this day and age, they know they made a mistake. They probably didn't find anything on his computer to support their claim, but it took 4 years. The poor
Best
family.
I don't comment on this apart from that's atrocious.
It is. It is it shows such little understanding of technology on the part of the police that it's not even funny.
And the thing that grabs me and gets me the worst is the fact that you've got to fight against the police to prove what they've done is wrong, even to the point of, you've got to pay a lawyer to actually fight that for you and then claim those costs back, and then hope at the end of it you may get some compensation in the 4 years that you've got to go through all that hardship. That's just disgusting.
It is. It really is. It's. I mean, you never get over that.
No.
This is something that they removed all the. It's there.
And the fact is, you're reported in the local media and probably radio and maybe even TV,
Right.
of what the accusations are, but there's no comeback on that. So you might get a little 1-paragraph mention in the back pages of the newspaper to say that you've been
Exonerated.
acquitted or
Yeah.
whatever. It isn't front page news that gets reported, and that's the sad thing about it is you live with that tarnish all your life.
Yep. There's really no uh, there's no way to come back from this.
No,
They,
there isn't.
they need to
And I
find
speak of that from a
they
personal perspective because I had not child pornography, but I had copyright issues a few years ago, so I know exactly what they're feeling like.
it,
So
it
they misread an IP address, did they, or mistyped an IP address?
Mistyped it,
yeah.
mistyped the IP address, and then went to the wrong address because of it.
What they should have done is said, "What IP address was it coming from?" Because they could have
Mm.
you immediately said, "Oh, that's not my IP address." Oh well,
There,
water
there
under the bridge.
there should be a way to get
It
it
should be automatic. If it's proven beyond any doubt that this is a police error, then there should be automatic compensation for things like that.
yeah, they shouldn't even talk about it.
No,
They shouldn't mention it anywhere. I mean, do your homework. Go ahead. I mean, you know, if they come, the word was possession, right?
mm.
Obviously, he did not possess anything, or they would have probably, if even if he had one picture, they would have said, "Ah, yeah, this is it." But
But for
you,
it to carry on when they realise there's no evidence, what on
right?
earth possesses them?
I know that's the point.
Yeah, but they wouldn't know there wasn't any evidence in it because they probably confiscated everything.
Yeah, but they would have searched through it and at the end of it realised, oh, hang on a minute, there isn't any evidence there. But then admit it then. Don't let it carry on for 4 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Gene was referring to your picture of your dog on the Hangout, Mike.
Oh, yeah, I haven't fired up Minicam. That's why.
Don't. That'll be why. Yeah, but that's a sad story and one I can relate to. Um, you've got to have a lot of um, get up and go, and also the money, the right sort of mindset to follow that through to get justice in the end. It's
Sure.
really taxing. Most people would probably just say, "Oh well, let's call that the end of it. And that's it, and be done with it." You can only fight so much.
And it's not like they couldn't have fought it. They really didn't have to fight it. All they had to say is, "Well, where's the evidence?"
Yeah, but it still took 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the police will fob you off with loads of excuses and reasons and whatever else, calling into question what you're saying, even though they know that they've done wrong and it's proved that they've done wrong. You still got to fight them and go through the legal process of clearing your name.
Yep. And your name is actually tarnished forever.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
because of the way it's reported initially.
Yep. Yep.
It's not innocent until proven guilty. It's the complete opposite.
So, and it'll probably happen again. It happened before. Well, I mean, not something that bad, but that I remember. And it'll probably happen again. And there is no reason for this to happen this day and age.
Not if people are paying attention and doing the job that they're supposed to do.
Right.
Let's say one digit incorrect can completely ruin someone's life.
Yeah.
But the guy's defense lawyer, because he must have had a lawyer right from day one, couldn't have checked the evidence very well, could they?
Well, no, but like I say, if once they get the bit between their teeth, they're like
Well,
guard dogs. They don't let it
I'd
go.
say a good defense lawyer picking up on that could have had it dismissed, within days.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that he did not have good defense to begin with, because you would think, oh, come on, I don't have to spend money on an attorney. There's nothing going on here. It's a mistake, and you don't think
if
that,
it's somebody, if it's an attorney that's issued by the state, you just get the next one in the phone call list, irrespective of how qualified they are.
Yeah, but
could have just
their
been out of
job
law
to go
school.
through everything. They should read to see what it's all about.
It
I'd
is.
sue them. I'd sue his lawyer.
Well, like I said before, Mike, you know the situation I was in and how long that went on. And there was no need for it to go on longer than the first day. But oh well.
Yeah, but when it happens, and then you just say, okay, how do I go about it? And the trick is really get an attorney right off the bat.
Yeah, you've got to get somebody that's familiar with that particular type
Technology.
of,
Yeah.
that knows about technology and that knows the ins and outs of what you're potentially being charged with. To just get somebody like as a general lawyer, you want somebody that specializes.
Yeah, but the guy himself must have known that he didn't have any images like that. That there's something wrong. It just seems daft that it went on so long. I think there's a massive amount of ignorance and must have been going on there.
It must have gone back and forth from the Crown Prosecution Service, and for them to continue it that long. And the Crown Prosecution Service is a service in the UK that decide whether a case should go to court on its merits because there is enough evidence. So somewhere along the line, the whole structure just failed completely.
I think there might be a lot more to the case than the papers have picked up on.
It got compensation in the end. That's the one consolation prize.
Yeah, but who knows? Do you think that covered an attorney for, let's say, 3 years?
Well, no, the attorney would be paid for the compensation. Is that will be his compensation.
Oh,
Attorney fees will be separately paid from that.
Mm.
Oh
Well,
well.
it just everybody should keep that in mind. Go ahead, Steve. You were saying?
I was going to say, just hope it doesn't happen to you because
Yeah.
it wrecks your life.
And it's all because the police is afraid or embarrassed or whatever to say, "Oh, we were wrong."
I'd call it incompetent, but okay.
No, of course they were incompetent. That's beside the point. That's the whole thing. I'm sure they realize pretty fast that okay, that's wrong. What? Can't you say you were wrong? And
Yeah, just admit it.
yeah,
Admit it early on, get it out the way, and just don't make the same mistake
right.
again.
Go after the real people.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. Guys, call us, make comments, ask questions, but be interactive, not just in the chat. All right, next story. Until now, Windows 10 has allowed users to avoid downloading updates over metered connections, like a pay per byte, to avoid racking up huge bills. Some users were setting their Ethernet and Wi-Fi connections as metered in order to prevent Windows 10 from downloading and installing updates without their permission. People found a way. I didn't know about this. In its latest preview versions of the OS, Microsoft is now forcing some updates necessary for smooth operation, quote unquote, to download even on these connections, as well as irritating users who want to control when updates download and install. Users of expensive pay-per-byte connections could face massive bills. This is really, really, it's beyond arrogant.
Well, it's going to be different soon because they're allowing you to defer the updates,
Right.
and what have you. But for until they do that, I don't know when that's coming in. It's supposed to be quite soon, but until they do that, could be a problem for people on metered connections.
It will be a problem for meter connections even afterwards if I think the story that we were talking about, the what you're talking about, it allows you to defer it by 3 days.
Defer by 3 days, and then you can defer by another three, and another three, and
Oh,
yeah.
oh, okay. Because yeah, that's. I mean, who or where do you have something like this that is metered other than on a phone or a tablet? I mean, when you're using 4G or something like that.
If you've got a mobile dongle, so when you're out and about, you
Well,
can use
that's
like a
that.
Wi-Fi type connection.
Yeah, so that's a 4G, right?
3G, 4G, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're on broadband at home and have got a data cap, yeah, if you're into gaming and things like that, you're going to be very cautious on how much you're using.
Yeah, it seems to me like Windows could sense when you are on um, 3G, 4G, or if you are on Wi-Fi that belongs to one, BT or whatever. So they can narrow it and say, no, this connection here, it belongs to XYZ, and that's metered. So let's not force it on.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible that they could
That's you.
define.
Don't tell me that's Nick.
You told people to interact, so now I'm interacting.
Hey, it is you.
How are you?
All right, where are you?
Hey, Nick.
Are you? Oh, you sitting
I'm at
there.
the airport.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, do you have a comment about what we're talking about?
Yes. If it's just necessary updates, I don't think it's a problem. I mean, they're not big updates. I don't think it's going to be like a 50 gig security patch. But if it's a security exploit update, I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, I get people have the caps like that, but
No,
it is what it is.
The little ones are all right, but one of the updates they're sending through is 1.3 gig.
Yeah, but I guess this is why Windows has such a bad name, is because people don't want to do the updates, and then it becomes an entire security hole. So I mean, Apple does it, and they have to, because you have to patch these through somehow.
Yeah, I would think that if it's a security patch that is really it's really being put out there to protect me, and it's small enough. And normally, you're right, Nick. They are small updates. Yeah, go ahead and do it.
If it's critical, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But people always run into this mindset with Windows that they install it and then they try to lock it down so it never gets any updates, and that's why you're seeing the name recognition issues Microsoft's having, because people don't keep their operating system up to date and then get hacked.
The other thing here that I just noticed, it just popped at me from this. It says some users were setting their Ethernet or Wi-Fi connection as metered. So that means that Windows knows whether you're metered or not.
Well, it's an on-off switch. But again, why would you, if you're not metered, why would you set that?
Well, in order to... Well, no.
Exactly, because you don't want to push the updates. You don't want to do this, and that's Windows' problem. That is exactly what's wrong with. And it's not even Windows. I think it's the user base. There's a real problem with that.
Right. It is a problem, because here it is. People that were on Wi-Fi and wanted to stop the updates are now hurting those that are on metered connections.
Exactly. Because people decided that people use it as an exploit.
Yeah.
I don't want the update because I don't like change. I don't like this. I don't like that. So then they use it, and now everybody's screwed.
Yep. But there's got to be technology out there that will be more selective in knowing who is metered and who is not, instead of just across the board. And even with these with the small updates, I mean, the metered are probably not that metered. It's not pay per byte. It's probably you're capped. I mean, I don't know anybody that if they want to do anything, okay, yeah, we're going to charge. There's a meter running there that say, okay, you use 2.5 bytes, so we're going to charge you that much.
That is the rarest of. That is not even close to the norm. That is the less than 1% minority of people that may still have dial-up or something where they're getting charged by data.
Yeah.
But it's just such a small group
between.
that I don't know. But yet everybody is freaking out about it for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, over here we've got an internet service that's called 1p mobiles. They charge a penny per minute for calls, penny per minute for text, and a penny per megabyte. So it's all right if you're only going to be using, just surfing the internet, doing email and stuff like that. But it's only going to give you 500 megabytes on, say, a £5 voucher. So you buy £5 voucher and you get either minute call, minute text, or megabyte.
So
Yeah.
there is a minimum that you pay and you get so much, and after that it costs that much.
Yeah, after that, well, you basically run out.
Right.
When you
That's
reach 500 minutes.
It's just a low cap. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a problem to me.
No, it's few and far between.
Exactly.
There will be people that
if
are affected, but it's a minority.
And if you build your process around it, that's just not right, because it's such, like you said, it's such a small amount of people that what's the difference?
Yep.
But it pays to be aware if you're in that situation.
Yeah.
It always pays to be aware. Nick, are you going to do a show today? I mean, you're against the norm, do you think?
It might be. Yeah, I'm gonna try. It's supposed to be on the radio tonight at 8 p.m. So I'll see if I can't do one live or just use a pre-recorded one.
Well, here's another story that is interesting. That says Twitter said on Tuesday it has suspended more than 500,000 accounts since the middle of 2015 as the company steps up efforts to tackle violent extremism on its microblogging platform. From the report, it says the company shut down a total of 376,000 accounts in the last 6 months of 2016, and they said in their transparency report. So if you have anything that is an account that promotes being extremism or terrorism or anything like that, they shut you down. What took so long?
Well, define extreme. What's extreme?
Well, I know that's
something you don't agree with.
Right, something that who doesn't agree with. I mean, who is here deciding what it's going to be? What's going to be extreme?
This is an ongoing problem with Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Google and all these places. They just get rid of stuff they don't like, and then there's nothing you can do. There's no recourse.
Yeah, but who knows now? I wonder if we'll hear from anybody whose account was shut down and said, "No, all we were saying is we support Trump." Is that extremism?
Wouldn't surprise me.
The government here is going for Facebook because Facebook are constantly being told to pull stuff down, and they're not. They leave it on. And the government's calling them in to a meeting to get them sorted out because inciting various terrorist acts and racism and all this sort of thing.
It's Facebook and Twitter.
And it's got to stop.
Hey Nick, are you just a second. Nick, are you sitting somewhere where you can charge your phone?
Yeah, why?
Okay. No, I don't want you to run down your battery before you fly.
It's like an hour flight. It's not a problem.
Okay. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
I was saying it's in the UK. It's Twitter and Facebook, but yeah, I mean they need to go at YouTube as well. And any site that is inciting it or allowing it to happen needs to have their legs slapped and told, to pull up their socks basically and make sure it is removed when they're told about it.
Right.
The biggest problem I have is there's no guidelines. It's just this thinly veiled blanket, and I mean, Steve, if you were to get banned, what would you do? There's
Well,
no
that's the whole
recourse you can
problem.
take.
You,
You're
you
just
don't have any recourse. There's no way of contacting Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube
Have you tried
directly
calling
and
Google
actually
before?
speaking to somebody.
Have you ever tried to contact Google? Have you ever found a phone number?
That's it, exactly. There's no way of doing it. If you get banned or your account gets shut down, there is no recourse. There's nobody that you can ring up and say, "Oh, I think you've made an error. Can I talk to you about it?" You can't talk to anyone about it.
Exactly, and that's my problem with it. It's not that I want that stuff on the site, but when there's no guidelines and it's just well, we don't like this, so this is gone, and we don't like that, so that is gone. That's a real problem.
If you're talking about taking a steps against things like that, listen to this: Verizon, AT&T, Johnson and Johnson, and other major companies have pulled advertisements from YouTube after learning they were paired with videos promoting, again, extremism, terrorism, and other offensive topics. The New York Times reports that among the other companies involved are pharmaceutical giant GSK, HSBC, the Royal Bank of Scotland, and L'Oreal, amounting to a potential loss of hundreds of millions of dollars to the Google-owned company. The boycott began last week after a Times of London investigation spurred many major European companies to pull their ads from YouTube. American companies swiftly followed. So if you don't see them doing something about it, you do it and you hurt them where it hurts the most.
This is a great story. I love this. Finally, somebody's sticking up to them about that.
Right.
Because, but here's the thing. I saw some of the videos that those ads were placed on, and they don't fit the description of what these companies are upset about. It's just stuff they don't agree with.
Yeah, that's true. But if they do a better job of doing away with those videos, of course, at that point, everybody's going to yell, freedom of speech or whatever. But if they do a better job of not pairing it with that, I mean, I have videos that we're doing here at Nissan Communications that I get something back from YouTube saying your video is not eligible for monetization. I went and I did away with, by default, I don't monetize anything because it cuts down on the traffic of email. And these are just talk shows. There's nothing there offensive to anybody. Yet it's all mechanical. It's not that somebody's sitting there and say, "Oh, I don't like that." So if you don't do a good job at that, get
but
ready.
That's precisely the problem with these networks is they're bots. Nobody at Twitter is sitting there pressing the big red ban button.
Right.
They're just allowing some BS algorithm to go through and decide what they like and what they don't.
Yeah.
There's no human interaction with systems like that. I think, or very few, if any.
Yep. So get ready to get hurt where it hurts the most.
You were going to say,
well,
Mike.
good. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad this is happening to you too.
But there's no global freedom of speech, because
right. But
freedom of speech is different in different countries. In this country, you can't incite racism, violence, or anything like that. That is all illegal. So anybody that is racist or points anything to do with racism towards anybody, or threatens or devalues someone, that's all illegal. In this country, it's illegal. Facebook's got to realize that if it wants to be global, it has to obey all the rules of the countries it puts itself in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is why the government is calling a meeting with Facebook to say, look, you can't do that in this country. You can't allow that in this country.
I mean, it even goes as far as offensive things. We've got a law in this country now that if somebody is offended, that they can be charged with being offensive.
But in America, I don't think it is it? I
No.
think in America you can be offensive and racist and get away with it. But you
Well, but
can't
this is
here.
the problem. But this is the problem. What defines something being offensive? There is no guidelines behind any of these systems.
Well, the guideline basically is if you've said something that could offend somebody, and they say, I've taken offense at that, and I'm offended by that post or by that video, by that podcast, then it could be looked into in a legal process.
I mean, that could see any word out of any sentence out of your mouth could be deemed offensive by anybody. I mean, that's the problem with this. It's so thin.
Well, the problem is they can't define it specifically because where do you put that line? What is okay for one person that may not be bothered about hearing the F word, whereas somebody else would be. So that therefore that one person would be offended. It's almost impossible to say, here's the line, you mustn't go beyond it, because who gets to draw the line? Who gets to decide?
Well, the line is, in our law, the line is clearly decided, and it can be just one person offended will trigger it. Only one person. It doesn't have to be lots of people. The line has been drawn. Like I say, in our law, it's drawn very tightly. As you know, you can't incite in public places, in the written word or anything. It's just illegal. End of story.
Right.
It's where you've got this so-called freedom of speech and you don't draw any lines, then people get away with everything.
Yeah, but that's not true because there are lines on freedom of speech. I mean, you can't run into a movie theater and yell fire. I mean, you can't you can't do stuff like that. But I just don't agree. I don't something being offensive. I mean, that's ridiculous. I could be offended by anything.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, but in some countries, that would be illegal. Like I say, even one person being offended, but the police have to follow through.
The thing is that YouTube is an American company.
Yeah.
And people can always write on this and say, well, where's freedom of speech? Even though they live in a country that has no freedom of speech, they would say, well, you're suppressing us. So it's kind of a grayish area as far as whether you do have it or you don't have it. Point is, it's almost common sense that if you go and who's that? Who said that? People who know. There was something about hunting white women in the chat. Somebody was saying. I mean, that's obviously inciting violence. I mean, it's almost like that's it. There's nothing else to it. There are situations where you have to weigh it and say, well, is it really or isn't it really? But not the machine. A machine could not decide that. It has to be a person.
But it's always going to be a machine. That's the problem.
That's the problem.
They wouldn't be able to afford
Yeah.
for it not to be a machine. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here at the end, that's it.
True.
Alrighty, I got a flight to catch.
All right, Nick. Have a safe trip.
Thank you very
have a
much. It
safe
was a
trip.
pleasure.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it's artificial intelligence is doing it all. If it is then handed across the ones that are picked out for a human to look at, then you've got some form of common sense there. But unfortunately, it looks like that's not happening in all cases.
Right. It's. I don't think it will ever be possible to be 100% right, but when you are 80% wrong,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, but like I say, the key thing that the government's worried about here is that Facebook is being told that there is offensive stuff by official people as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they're refusing to take it down. They're not taking it down. So, they can't carry on being blasé like that, because if a country's got these rules, they should immediately abide by it. Otherwise, the country will ban them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the UK banning Facebook? There'll be an uproar, wouldn't there?
Yeah. But if it keep breaking the law, there's a possibility they will. They'll block it.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with what's going on in the chat without completely losing my concentration. We'll get to it, guys. If you have something important to say, call in 919-518-9773 or Computers 2K Voice on Skype. Those of you that are thinking Skype, oh, I'm going to be on video. No, Computers 2K Voice is what it says. Voice. It's audio only. It's instead of you using a phone to dial in, you can use Skype to connect from anywhere in the world and just be on the same, just like you called in on a phone.
Yeah, so don't worry if you're sat there in your pajamas, we won't see you.
Right. So again, 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. All right. Let's see what else we have here. If you're an IT person, the U.S. Third Circuit Court of Appeals today upheld a lower court ruling of contempt against a chap who claimed he couldn't remember the password to decrypt his computer's hard drive. In so doing, the appeals court opted not to address a lower court's rejection of the defendant's argument that being forced to reveal his password violated his Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination. In the case under review, the U.S. District Court for Eastern District of Pennsylvania held the defendant, referred to in court document as John Doe, because his case is partially under seal, in contempt of court for willfully disobeying and resisting an order to decrypt external hard drives that had been attached to his Mac Pro computer. The defendant computer, 2 external hard drives, an iPhone 5S, and an iPhone 6 Plus had been seized as part of a child pornography investigation. I mean, at that point, he already admitted he's doing something wrong, because he pleads the fifth. That means I'm going to incriminate myself if I let you see it. And it is so dumb to do this, because it's like, you see all these chases on TV, car chases. Where do you think you're going to go? I mean, sooner or later, the law is going to find a way to decrypt these things. And you have a double whammy.
It's the same in the UK. If you, well, in the UK, it's not the same. You can't claim the fifth like you can in America. So
We haven't got a fifth.
you've, if the judge says, or court says that you've got to unencrypt or give the passcode, and you don't, you're off to jail. That's it. In fact, we've had cases where people have gone to jail and been sentenced to, because of contempt of court for not unlocking something.
I mean, that's what the fifth means, is if I can't answer it, because if I answer, I'm going to incriminate myself. It's like, did you kill the person? Well, I can't answer it, because if I answer it, you know that I did it. What are we doing here? I'm sure the fifth has situations where it works and it does something good, but in this case here, especially, I mean, it has to do with child pornography. That guy needs to be skewered.
Doesn't cater for the 21st century, does it?
I think
No.
there's got to be laws written for the web, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's all got to be uplifted because it's running out of control now.
And
Well, as
things,
technology moves on, if the laws don't follow it and move at the same speed, then you're dealing with laws
Right.
for something that didn't exist that does now. So it needs to be updated.
and it will be, but how long is it going to take?
Mm.
How long before people realize, what, that law that we have written, that was written 100 years ago, really doesn't mean anything today. It's a joke. So we need to redo it and apply today's situations to it. Why don't they do it? Then legislators are going to have real work in front of them.
Well, I think you have all these amendments, and it's solely to keep your lawyers in business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mike might be listening. Yeah, they certainly, whether it's good or bad, they make their money.
They always do.
Yep.
Absolutely. Always do. All right, let's see what else we have here. Again, guys, if you want to talk about something, make comment, ask questions, please call us 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. It makes a lot more interesting discussion when somebody calls in with something that takes us away from just everyday stories that we're talking about here. Again, something about your side of town, guys. The UK is due to announce a cabin baggage ban on laptops, tablets, and DVD players on certain passenger flights after a similar US move. This is from a report on the BBC. It is understood the UK restrictions may differ from the US Department of Homeland Security ban, although details have not yet been released. Flights from 10 airports in 8 Muslim-majority countries are subject to the U.S. announcement. U.S. officials say that bombs could be hidden in a series of devices. BBC Home Affairs correspondents said the expected move was obviously part of coordinated action with the U.S. The attempted downing of an airline in Somalia last year was linked to a laptop device, and it appears the security precautions are an attempt to stop similar incidents. Sure, you can take a laptop and put C4 in it, but if they make you turn on the laptop to see that it's actually, and I think, I haven't flown in some time. I thought they make you turn on a device to make sure that it is working. There's not much room. Say again?
Back in 2002, I flew over to Canada and then come back, and I had a Palm Pilot, one of these little handheld Palm devices. Excuse me, and they asked me to turn that on and interact with it, do 2 or 3 different things with it. So yeah, that was back in 2002. So there's ways and means of actually checking it, but to ban it completely, I don't know whether that's a bit too much of a reach.
Right. I mean, I'm all for protecting people who are flying and protecting citizens. Um, but in today's hardware, there's really not that much room to put anything. Now, yeah, you can argue, okay, here's the laptop, here's the power supply. When I turn it on, it's going to work on the battery. They did not ask me to plug in the power supply. Power supply is a pretty good size box. It could be emptied and packed with C4. There's got to be a good way of checking these devices. Do I have answers? No. But what do you do when somebody comes with the laptop? Do you do like you do with the little bitty pocket knife and you take it away and put it aside and say, well, you can pick it up if you come back.
You know what you're going to do? Start taking it apart? You can't do that every time.
You
can
can do exactly.
I think by putting it in the hold, they can do more rigorous checks on it with sniffer dogs and all the other things. When you carrying
Yes,
it
you
through
can.
to the
Good
plane,
point.
it's all done very quickly. It has to be done quickly, or otherwise everybody be held up.
That's a
So,
very good point. Yep.
I
And
think that's the reason why they say put it in the hold. It means that the bag is in there. It's solely in their domain, and they can give it a good old going over before it gets to the plane.
I thought X-ray could also show what's in there.
Yeah, X-ray. I don't think you can rely on X-ray to show explosive devices. Though.
The best way, it was a joke, but the best solution was that they said that when you go through the airport in Israel, you go through a room that is a, what do you call it? That a bomb could go off in there and it will not.
Mm.
And they tell people, take all your luggage and go through it. If there is a bomb anywhere in your possession, it's going to blow up in there because we run uh, some kind of a radio wave that will detonate anything. So you have to take it and go in there with it. And if I know you can't do that thing in reality, but what a solution, You're gonna go in the room, and if they have one, yeah, you're gonna die. You're gonna blow it up, but you're gonna die by yourself.
But they're only restricting it from certain countries. It's not everywhere, so it's not so bad, is it?
No. And Gene is saying that you don't have to turn on a laptop and flying in and out of the U.S. And that could be a problem. I mean, they said, okay, don't you put it in your checked baggage. Well, if it's down there and it blows up, it still brings down the airline. The airplane cannot take it even in the belly. So I don't know. If they did make you turn it on, why don't they do it these days? And if they don't do any of that stuff, why do you have to be at the airport 2.5 hours early? No. Just don't fly.
Because they got to do the screening. That's why
You what?
they've got to do the screening because there's nasty people that do nasty things.
But if they don't do the screening, yeah, movie buff saying traveling sucks. Absolutely. If you have to get on an airplane and in the back of your mind, it's always, well, am I safe?
Well,
It sucks.
if you're in the UK, you're not even safe crossing a bridge.
Yeah, that's right. The terrorist is always sort of like a step ahead of the rest of the population.
You've got to be aware of what's going on around you everywhere. And unfortunately, these days, the vast majority of people are stuck on their phones, not looking at what's going on around them.
Well, it's been proven that one guy in a car can cause absolute havoc. Just one guy, one car. And how the hell do you stop cars going down the road? You can't.
Good morning.
I am not. Mike and Fuquay.
Hey, Mike and Fuquay. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Give you an update on what we talked about last week.
Yeah.
First of all, that cumulative update that Microsoft issued that killed Media Player.
Right.
Last week, they issued another cumulative update, same 1.3 gigabytes, that apparently fixed the problem.
Yeah, it surfaced, and there were a lot of articles about that update.
Except that the supporting article for that update didn't mention Media Player. It said it fixed a problem with DVD player.
But it did fix.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I did was I put the bad DLL back in just so that I wouldn't foul up the update.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ran the update, and everything seems to be okay.
Good.
So that took care of that. The other problem I had with that volume, whatever the heck it was,
System volume information
folder, whatever, I did two things. First of all, I disabled a service that was recommended, that distributed link tracking client. And then under the group policy editor, there's an option to turn off system restore permanently. So I did that. That turned around and allowed me to delete that folder in the C drive.
Right. You were asked yesterday by Steve and by Mike, I think, if you did away with System Restore, and you said yes.
I thought I did.
Okay.
When I went into the control panel, and let me see if I can.
Yeah, you
figure
have
out.
to do it from.
Yeah, but you go in there and you turn it off, but that doesn't really turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go into the group policy editor, and there's an option to disable restore points, and that will turn it off, because if you go into control panel now, there's a little notation under the control point tab. It says it's been turned off and everything's grayed out. You can't touch it.
Yeah, but once you take care of the problem, I would personally suggest that you put System Restore back on.
Well, like I said, I don't use it. I never have. I really don't like it because I don't know exactly what it's doing, and I'd rather do an image restore, since I know exactly what's going to be changed.
If you make an image, then yeah, that's okay. But most people just forget to do that.
Well, this is me, and I make backups.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's
the most
that
important
took
thing.
care of that. Now I can delete that folder from Explorer.
Okay.
It'll be recreated, but there's only like 88 bytes in the folder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even if
that's
I
the
run
most
that
important.
error check.
Wait a second, Mike. Steve, what'd you say?
That's the most important thing, is that for the average user, they don't do a full image backup. In your case, you do, and you can get around it by turning restore point off. For the average user, they don't do a full image backup, so restore points to them would be essential.
Right.
Well, like I said, that was the only thing that stopped my wife's machine from creating that 40 to 50 gigabyte file.
Hmm.
I still don't know why it was created, but this has stopped it. Right now,
It's good
I've
that you've
run
got a
that.
solution.
I've run that error check on her machine a dozen times, and there's still only 88 bytes of data in that folder.
Well, it's there and it's fine.
Yeah, that took care of that. So I figured I'd give you a call back and let you know.
Mm-hmm.
And on one last item, if you remember, I had that problem with my X10. The refrigerator was causing
Yeah.
my X10. Well, I got a new generator installed last week.
And
And the transfer circuitry is now in my circuit breaker boxes. There's not a separate transfer switch.
okay.
And the refrigerator is hooked up and everything seems to be hunky-dory. So apparently there is a problem within that transfer box, the old one,
Interesting.
that caused my X10 problems. So now I have a new, larger generator that does the whole house, does
What's-
not have a separate transfer switch, and everything seems to be good.
What size generator did you get?
22 kW.
Wow. Nice.
That will do everything in the house.
Yep.
And my old generator, a friend of mine took it. He's going to have it installed in his house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, Mike.
All right, we'll talk to you
All
later.
right. Thanks for calling.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for calling, Mark. Bye.
What'd you say, Steve?
I say thanks for calling, Mike.
Oh.
It's good that he got found a solution to the problem.
Yeah. That was a weird problem. But glad he got it resolved. Yeah, 22 kW is a nice size generator. Absolutely. And we were talking about the devices that you carry on the plane, and John RTP says he read that they believe it takes a more sophisticated device to detonate in the cargo hold. Yes, it does. They probably need all kind of elevation sensors and things like that, but they could just put a timer on it. Of course, they take a chance of it blowing up right on the runway if the flight is late. And Movie Buffett says that worrying about flying is not worrying about idiots, but just normal flying. Yeah. It would worry you. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. Anything you guys want to talk about? Or bring up?
I got nothing today.
Nothing. I got nothing. Nothing.
I like that bit where Uber is stopping their driverless cars because one crashed.
Oh, did it? I didn't
Yeah.
read that.
They've pulled the plug on them. They
Oh,
don't
dear.
trust them.
On what?
And Uber had these driverless cars.
Right.
Well, one's crashed.
Oh,
So that's made Uber very, very wary of them. So they've pulled them. They're not going to use them.
Well, better
Yeah.
safe than sorry.
And it's the old case. It's because they will never work properly as long as there's ordinary drivers on the road.
Yeah,
If you've
because
got
if there's a human
ordinary drivers,
involved,
yeah. So
they're random. They do anything at random, and unfortunately, artificial intelligence doesn't deal with random.
yeah, the Arizona police said the accident occurred when the other vehicle failed to yield. That's it. I expect the Uber car said, "Well, I got the right of way. I'm going to go," but the other person's carried on. So
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
they'll never catch on. They'll
They
never
have
work effectively as long as they're sharing the road with humans.
they're they'd have to automatically err on the side of caution. And can you imagine if they, when they eventually do get to being artificial intelligent um, driving systems, they're a human is just going to bully it, and it's going to yield because it's, you know, it's got a self-preservation. It is
Mm-hmm.
the most important 100% thing. So the humans will just bully the devil out of these automatic driving cars, and the whole road system is just going to come to a grinding halt.
Because everybody's going to, oh, wait a second. No, I've got to watch this. Oh, no, no, wait. I've got to watch this. But you know, it's the same thing that's happening when it snows outside. There are drivers who know how to drive in the snow. And there are those that have no earthly idea. And I don't care how good you are driving in the snow. If you go out there and you just drive, you are taking your life in your hands, because one of those that don't know how to drive in the snow is going to plow right into you. So, taking the car when they tell you, hey, don't drive if you don't have to, is a very good advice, because even if you know how to drive and you say, okay, I'm just going to go get a loaf of bread and I'm fine. I mean, I know how to drive in this weather. It's not you, it's the others. So it's the same thing with those self-driving cars that say that the artificial intelligence is actually smarter. Let's assume. But there are others that are going to be a challenge to it and are going to come up with something that it doesn't know how to react to, or it doesn't know how to react to.
With humans, it's all down to experience. It's like John in chat is saying, drivers who know how to drive in the snow stay at home when it snows. Yeah, either that or they've got experience of doing it before, and are confident. Unfortunately, confidence doesn't always play out, does it?
I'm laughing because John is saying in the chat, said drivers who know how to drive in the snow stay home when it snows. Yeah. But it's amazing how many people say, "Oh, I've got a four-wheel drive. I can go out there. I don't need to worry." Yeah,
Some
right.
four-wheel drives are more lethal in snow than ordinary cars.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that.
Four-wheel
So,
drive does not mean to say that they're immune from sliding.
Gene, why don't you call in? Oh, wait a second. I'm reading. Oh, about OneDrive. I don't use OneDrive. Anybody uses OneDrive?
Oh, OneDrive, yeah. Yes, I use it. I've been using it for years. It's the only cloud drive I use, actually. I use it for temporary moving files, but it works every time.
Is it
Always there.
transparent as far as using? I mean, it just becomes another drive on your machine.
It just shows as a folder on your machine, yeah, when you've got it set up. It's quite smooth. It works quite smoothly.
So you just log into your OneDrive account, and then it appears as if it's another folder on that machine you're on at the time.
Once you've set it up, it's always in your machine as a folder.
And
good.
and what do you do
Always.
if if you're away and you want to connect to it from another machine? Can you? Is
All you
there?
have to do is put your username and password into that machine, and you'll have access to it.
Okay. So there you go, Gene. If you have any other questions about it, I mean, if Jorvik and Steve have been using it, you can call in and ask.
I'm not using it myself. I've got it available on Windows 10, but I don't use it. My upload speed's not fast enough. I probably would use it if I was on fiber with a good upload speed. It would take me forever to upload things otherwise. Movie Buff is saying, Gene, both are good. Google Drive is better.
And Movie Buff, how much, Mike, how much room do they give you?
Good point. Good point.
It's 5 gigabytes, wasn't it?
I think it's 5, isn't it? Yeah. I think that's the
Movie
default.
Buff, do you
can
know?
add to it if you want to.
Top of your head? It's an interesting. I don't like to depend on the internet for anything as far as getting data, but duplicating things. And
No, you
stuff.
have to. It's very good for just quickly moving something. I use it to move stuff and then I delete.
Mhm.
But it can be very handy for backing up quickly and moving stuff around. Don't leave stuff on there all the time.
So the question from Charles is: does OneDrive use encryption? Why does Google Drive use encryption? Do you know if you encrypt it when you put stuff on it, Mike?
I don't think it encrypts.
Okay, so Google Drive does. Charles says.
And
Drive encrypts.
15 gigabyte on Google Drive. OneDrive's 5 gigabyte, according to Movie Buff. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm. And it is encrypted on Google. So that's
Yeah, I'm just reading like Google Drive. They say don't rely on it. It's not sufficiently secure.
what the encryption.
The encryption, yeah.
Well, it may be better than nothing. Yeah, Charles saying all files uploaded to Google are encrypted. Oh.
If it's online somewhere, it could be hacked. So
Right, right.
even the big players can get hacked.
Nothing is secure online. Absolutely, nothing. That's why I don't like to use cloud drives.
For non-sensitive stuff like photos and things like that, I suppose it would be useful to have access to that while you're out and about, or if you're working on documents and things. But anything that's needs to be secure, nah.
And again, it depends what kind of photos.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. 919-518-9773, Computers 2K voice on Skype. Now, AMD says the company has been able to figure out why FMA3 code, whatever that is, in the Ryzen, is causing system hangups on PCs using a new Ryzen desktop processor. From a report, AMD didn't provide a detailed report on the problems, root cause, which I wholeheartedly agree. Nobody needs to know why it's doing it, so they don't write more stuff to hang your PC. But they said that BIOS changes will be distributed to motherboards manufacturers to resolve the issue. Customers are encouraged to keep an eye on their motherboard vendor's website for an update. We are aware of select instances where FMA, and I wish somebody would tell me what that is, can result in a system hang, the company said. We have identified the root cause, and AMD released 3 Ryzen branded desktop processors at the beginning of March that plug into motherboards based on AMD new AM4 socket. And that's where the problem with these motherboards. The trio of processors include the Ryzen 7 18, 17, and the Ryzen 7 17. However, all 3 reportedly caused a hard system lock when running certain FMA3 workloads. The problem was replicated across all 3 processors and a variety of motherboards. So, what is FMA3? I don't want to screw up with this computer. But so
Just having a look for it now. It's an instruction set. There's an extension to the 128 and 256-bit streaming SIMD extensions instructions in the x86 microprocessor instruction set to perform fused, multiply, add FMA operations. There are 2 variants, FMA4 and FMA3.
okay.
They're supported in AMD processors starting with the bulldozer architecture for FMA4 and starting with the pile driver architecture for FMA3. I read that and it went straight over my head.
Like
Well-
the descriptions they put on the labels.
Yeah, very useful. Thanks, Wikipedia.
And Movie Buff is saying, don't forget that Amazon offers a cloud service too. Yeah.
I think most people do, don't they? Anything that's sort of web-based offers some sort of cloud these days.
Movie Buff, I didn't hear anything about NAB 2017 yet.
That was me, sorry. Thought I turned it off.
And Movie Buff is asking, how many of you use HDMI camcorders for the live broadcasts? What does it have to do with the chat? At this
I think
point,
he's saying live broadcasts and chat, sort of people using camcorders as
Yeah.
a webcam.
I changed everything now to using HDMI. What is it? It's the Canon HFR 100. All 3 cameras are the same HDMI, using it with a Kona 3G card and HDMI to SDI converters. Works great. And tell me, why are you asking? I mean, what's... Oh, anybody in the chat. Okay. I don't know anything about that, Roland. I wish you could call in. Movie Buff is way up in Canada, I think. Yeah. Jean says, right now there are more clouds in the sky than we need. Yeah. Yeah. What else, guys?
I'm just looking to see if there's anything interesting in the news.
Mike, you were traveling. Did you come across anything that has to do with technology that you want to mention?
No, because it was a getaway type of. It was get away from technology. So make advantage of the spring weather, I think.
Well, let's see what else I have here. Oh, listen to this. A group of hackers is threatening to wipe data for millions of Apple devices in 2 weeks if the company doesn't pay them $150,000. The group, which calls itself Turkish Crime Family, claims to have login credentials for more than 627 million iCloud.com, me.com, and mac.com email addresses. These are email domains that Apple has allowed for users creating iCloud accounts over the years. Even though the Turkish crime family hasn't been in the media spotlight before, its members claim that they've been involved in selling stolen online databases in private circles for the past few years. If they start wiping, I mean, it may all be a hoax and they may not be able to do anything, but if I had an iCloud account, I think I would change something. I wouldn't take a chance. But again, you see, this is how these cloud-based drives work. I mean, I'm sure for Google Drive, you have to use your Google account, and for Amazon, you have to use another email address, and it's for any of them, you have to use some kind of a login that somebody can hack into, right? If it's out there, they can hack.
If there's a username and password and someone has it, you're hacked. Simple
Yeah,
as that.
absolutely. But I don't know how they're talking about from Apple devices. I guess they can take stuff out of the iCloud on Apple, but I don't know that they can erase data on that make a device run and function.
No, it's just like it's access because it will be your contacts, your calendar, and any files you put on the cloud. That's all.
Yeah, that sounds like it. The evil stuff.
All mine's backed up anyway, so if they erased it in the phone, I've got copies that I could immediately put back anyway.
uh, Movie buff, you're talking about doing this. The reason I went with that Canon, it's the cheapest Canon. Actually, Tom Sinclair told me about it because he was using one of those. He's still using one of those there, and it's very easy to set up. The only thing I don't like about them, there is no remote control. So if I need to change anything on it, I have to go behind the camera to do that. And sometimes it's kind of hard to do when you work by yourself. You can't do that. I may be able to get better color out of it. I mean, so far all I do is just adjust the focus, and I don't think I have it on autofocus either. Let's see. No, I don't. But it works great. It really works. I mean, you can see the picture that comes out. HF, it is. I think it has to be an HFR 600. Yeah, I looked at the specs, and I'm not going to get anything more than what the 100 is doing. I keep looking for something that would have a remote, but none of those Canons, the whole series of HFR 100 through 7 or 8, none of them have a remote. Tom thought that one of the older remotes would work for the Zoom, and I got one of those. I mean, I think it was like $8. It did not do it. It wouldn't do it. But I mean, they're working fine. Obviously, I've been using it now for a couple of months, and no problem whatsoever. So I don't have any webcams anymore.
No messing around with USB.
I know what a good feeling. Yes, the G30 and G40, but see how much they cost.
I've got a story about fiber internet and a bill that they're trying to put through. Years in the making, a proposal to mandate the installation of fiber conduits during federally funded highway projects might be gaining some new momentum. If the US adopts a dig once policy, construction workers would install conduits just about any time they build new roads and sidewalks or upgrade existing ones. These conduits are plastic pipes that can house fiber cables.
Yep.
The conduits might be empty when installed, but the presence makes it a lot cheaper and easier to install fiber later after the road construction is finished. It's an old idea, but US Republican Anna Issue, D. Caliph, has been proposing dig once legislation since 2009, and it's got widespread support from broadband-focused consumer advocacy groups. It's never made all the way through Congress, but they're pushing it by the looks of it.
I think that's what they call dig once or something like that.
Dig once, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. You don't have to put a zipper on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to dig it up and do all the work in one go.
Yeah.
You know, that means actually talking to each other and having common sense. No, that's never going to happen.
Common sense in here? Nah.
No, the electric company talks to the gas company, talks to the phone company. Nah, that's not going to happen.
Right. I mean, it's okay to run your cable right next to the other one, but not in the same conduit.
And dig up a separate hole 2 weeks after the old one's filled in. Oh,
right.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yep, that's the way to do it. And in many cases, cut the current one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, the guy our cook reports in the chat. Shh.
Yeah, and he's asking how many pulls are in the tube. None. Oh, I mean, you know, they have. I'm sure if they're going to do that, they're going to leave a conduit that will provide ample room.
Be plenty enough room for all services, I would have thought.
Right.
So it's a duct system, is it?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I think they do that in the UK now, and on new estates that they're building. If they're putting in a bunch of 200 houses, they wire it and feed everything to it, whether it's used or not.
I think here though they're just catering for fibre all the time, and they use blown fibre.
Mm.
So it's empty tubes, and then they just blow the fibre in when they need it.
Yeah, I mean,
certainly BT uses blown fibre.
They can always also train mice to pull the cable through.
No, little remote control cars.
Yeah, they can do that too. Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. So, who's using LastPass?
No, I looked at it, but I'm not using it.
Sorry, using say again.
Last pass.
Pass.
Last
LastPass.
So,
Last pass.
last
LastPass.
Last pass. There's another one called Key Pass.
Yeah. Well, earlier this month, somebody on Slashdot asked fellow Slashdotters what they recommend regarding the use of password managers. In their post, they voiced their uncertainty with password managers as they've been hacked in the past, citing an incident in early 2016 where LastPass was hacked due to a bug that allowed users to extract passwords stored in the autofill feature. Flash forward to present time, and we now have news that 3 separate bugs would have allowed a third party to extract passwords from users visiting a malicious website. This is coming through Bleeping Computers. LastPass patched 3 bugs that affected the Chrome and Firefox browser extension, which, if exploited, would have allowed a third party to extract passwords from users visiting a malicious website. All bugs were reported by Google security researcher Travis Ormandy, and all allowed the theft of user credentials. One bug affecting the LastPass Chrome extension, while 2 impacted the LastPass Firefox extension. The exploitation vector was malicious JavaScript code that could be very well hidden in any online website. And if the attacker owned it, there you go. I don't choose any of these. Again, because if it's online, it can be hacked, right?
Yep.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Problem with a lot of these LastPass, KeyPass, and programs like that, they don't work with all browsers. And I like to use Vivaldi. I know Mike does. I think Amnon might do as well.
Yeah.
And they're not covered. It works in Chrome, it works in Firefox, works in Edge probably, but they don't like Vivaldi. So there's no point in me trying to use them because it isn't going to work.
Yeah, I just looked. There's vulnerabilities in lots of password managers. A report here, and it's only last month, so it's salient. And they say Dash, is it Dashlane? Password manager, Avast, F-Secure, My Passwords, Hide Pictures, 1Password. What's that one? Keeper and LastPass all have vulnerabilities as of February last month.
Well,
If you're asking about the report about LastPass, it doesn't have the date of the report. I mean, the article is from last week. I doubt it's that old. I guess guy is using LastPass. That's okay, guy. Oh, you're just gonna get a couple more gray hair. You can manage that. He can, right? No?
if not, he's going to learn to.
You know, yeah, he said he's got lots. Good. Yeah, he does have lots. Every now and then, I find it necessary to explain to people about having their own email address at their own domain name. And every now and then, somebody's asking me why. Do you guys want to talk about this?
Yeah, go on then.
You go with Gmail. I mean, first of all, for a business to have a Gmail on your website is not professional.
No. If
Remember,
you've got a web presence, it makes sense to have a web address at that presence,
absolutely.
doesn't it?
The problem is that many hosting companies where you would host your domain name don't do email. They do website hosting, but they don't do email. Because email is really hard to manage and to set up for domains. So they think that it's like this everywhere, but it's not. If you have a domain, abc.com, your emails should be at abc.com. You should always, I mean, first of all, it doesn't cost you much to maintain that domain name. You are already paying for the hosting. And in all cases that I know of, it's part of the hosting if they do email. That's one thing. That's to look professional. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to set up another mailbox. Because a lot of people say, I don't want to have to manage multiple mailboxes. Well, xxx at abc.com can be the email, but it can be forwarded to your Gmail account. The people that come to your website or do email with you never know that because you set up Gmail to reply as the ABC. So that's not an argument. If you are an individual, think about it. And we always tend to say, okay, now Comcast is getting too expensive. I'm going to go to AT&T. Now, if you were using XYZ at Comcast.com, now you're changing to AT&T. Guess what happens to that account? It's not going to be there unless you keep on paying them. Because now you're going to have an email at AT&T.net. So even for individuals, and a lot of individuals stay with Time Warner or with AT&T or whatever because they have an account, an email address for them, for the family, and all. It's already established. It's been there for 10 years or whatever. And they know what it's going to take to change. If you had your own domain name, an individual can maintain one just as well as a business. It's pennies. At that point, if you decided to go to another provider, all you have to do is go into your hosting account and say, okay, now my mail is at AT&T and it's going to go to wherever you want it to go to. If you set up your own, if you are techie enough to set up your own mailboxes, then you don't have to make any you don't have to make any changes. But in most cases, people have these forwarded to an email address that they can use, and many of these don't give you all the. I mean, if you set up your own mailbox, you have a limit on how big it can be and things like. People like to have Gmail, or maybe you have Outlook.com or any other mail service. And all you have to do is just go and say, okay, from today forward, this email is going to change to AT&T, but it's still going to go to that email address that I have over at Gmail. The nice thing is nobody knows all this is going behind the scenes. You know it. When you get an email from me, it'll say amnon@deltaforce.net. When you send an email, you send it to amnon@deltaforce.net. It may be going to Gmail, it may be going somewhere else, but you don't know it. So you would never have to say, hey guys, I changed my mailbox and now it's this one. Because you run into trouble where people that maybe don't write you often, don't pay attention to this, and when they do want to write you, it bounces back. So getting your own domain makes sense to businesses, there's no doubt, but for individuals that have a lot of email addresses, a lot of friends that they or family that they write back and forth with. It may sound complicated to begin with, but really it's not.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what you guys have to add to it?
Well, from a business perspective, if you've got a company, I don't know, mywellingtonboots.com, then you'll feel a lot more confident as a customer writing to admin@mywellingtonboots.com or
Absolutely.
whoever. I mean, it looks more respectful. It looks more professional, doesn't it?
Right. Absolutely. That's the thing. You want to look professional.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just thinks it, doesn't it?
Agreed.
Gone are the days of 12736 Barney@hotmail.com. Yeah, you can trust that person, aren't you?
That's
Yeah. Yeah, and
a
Gene,
50-year-old Hotmail account.
Yeah.
it's fine to have a Hotmail account. But what happened
No, I
if...
said a 50-year-old Hotmail account.
Oh. Gene is saying that, yeah, I know. He has an email address with his own domain name for many, 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 many years. And yes, I know
That
it
does make
because
sense.
I hosted for him.
It makes sense, I suppose. It does really. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to look professional, then when you're running a business, it's obvious.
Yeah.
But
Good
but
point.
it's amazing how many businesses don't know it.
Mm.
As obvious as it is, they don't realize that.
We see it on vans all the time around here. People that perhaps run their own business as a plumber or a carpenter and
Right.
things like that, and they've got Hotmail address or a Gmail address.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look as professional. And some people have even got a website. Why don't you have admin at or John at whatever the web address is? It just
Right.
makes absolute sense.
Especially when it can be redirected, as Amnon said. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be a special link. It can be redirected in the background. No one would know.
Right.
Would they?
Yeah.
It's all how, I mean, when you go and you tell somebody, yeah, just come over, and when you see the purple house, that's me.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that the house is purple on the inside. It's purple on the outside. My
Yeah.
company name is purplepaint.com.
Mm.
I mean, Guy put something that says use an email alias. Well, this is an email alias. When you say steve@uk.com, and if UK was Steve's domain, Steve can go
You've
in.
just told everyone my email address. I wish.
You
A
go in
redirect
and
is just as good as an alias, isn't it?
yeah, steve@guest.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that Steve has to go and set up a new mailbox. He sets up an alias, and he goes into his setup and he says, okay, if anybody writes steve@guest.com, forward it over to 12345@gmail.com. And Steve doesn't have to change anything in his Outlook or any email program that he uses.
No, he can carry on using his old one.
Right.
Just got a different facet, doesn't it?
If you're changing ISPs regularly because you've got the chance of having competition and you want to keep with the cheapest price or the best service, then it just makes sense. You've got to keep changing your email address and informing all your hundreds of contacts all the time. Nightmare.
Right, it is. And to stay with a provider that charges you a whole lot more than new providers would, just because your email address is with that provider, you feel like they got you by the cojones. Hey, I can't leave. If I leave, I lose
Google
that
doesn't.
email address. Say it again.
Google does offer domain names. Moody
Yeah.
Buff is
Oh, yeah.
saying in the chat, I'm surprised Google does not offer domain names. I set up a website domain and email all for a company last year sometime, all done through Google.
Yeah, Google now is a registrar. They've
Yeah.
been a registrar for some time now. And they call it Google Domains. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yep.
Very simple way of doing it, actually. In fact,
What-
it was a lot more simpler than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a bit of a problem and a headache, but piece of cake if you know a little bit about computers and the way the internet works as far as domain names go. Easy.
Yeah, and really it's for anybody that has any kind of web presence. And web presence
Hmm.
doesn't mean website.
Hmm.
I mean, if you're doing a lot of emailing between aunts and grandmas and kids, and it's the same thing. I mean, I got my daughter's domain name, I don't know, 20 years ago. She doesn't use it. It's fine. But
Yeah.
it's there, and you should go ahead and see if it's available and just get it, so you will have it, because I don't know what's going to happen in the future with the kids. It may become to a point that, hey, everybody should have their own website. Just like businesses today go, hey, if you're in business, you should have a website. And it's nice to have a website that reflects your actual name.
Mm.
Many companies can't find these today anymore.
Well, one thing that happened in the week I noticed
Mm-hmm.
while I was away. What did you think about the Senate repealing the FCC ISP's privacy rules?
I did not read about that.
Well, in the Senate,
Yeah.
50 Republicans voted through, 48 Democrats tried to stop it, that ISPs, without their users' permission, can sell on browsing
Oh.
history and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, this has to come down to the individual user, that if they know that their provider is selling the mailing list and usage, they should go to somebody else.
Mm.
They should.
Yeah, but if they're all doing it,
If they what?
if they're all doing it, you can't
Well,
escape, can it?
Yeah.
Because they're going to do it because it makes them money, doesn't it? If
Of
there's
course.
lists make money.
They make a lot of money from it, I'm sure. I mean, I, you know, I'm in a way I'm glad I don't have that many customers like all those big ISPs, because I'm not even tempted to do something like that. I mean, not that I would,
Mm.
but it's nice that no, nobody's interested in this, and I can't give you any usage anyway because people are not connecting to me for accessibility access. But I told you guys before, you can set up, not that you can set up. You don't need, it's not even a setup. You can when you go and you have to register somewhere,
Mm.
and your email address is Mike at domain name, you can either put Mike hyphen something at that domain name or Mike plus. It depends on the system. And I do it all the time. So if I'm going to YouTube, I have an email address that says Amnon-YouTube. If I go to any other company, I always put the name of the site that I'm on, that I'm registering on, and I put my email address hyphen or plus. I do minus because I know that my ISP, which is me, can understand this. And then if I get any kind of email from anybody else that is directed to that email address, and when you get the email address, you see who it's coming to, you say, okay. So YouTube sold that to another company.
Yeah.
And at that point, you know what it is. And if you, I mean, of course, with YouTube, you have no choice because they're just YouTube. But if you're registering anywhere else, you can also go and put a block on that email address so you don't get it.
Mm.
Or you know that this company sells it, let other people know about it. And if there's a alternative, I would go to the other company. But there
But the
are,
thing is,
say,
go on.
no,
The thing is, it's all very well just selling on email addresses for people to spam to and that, but
Mhm.
selling browsing history
is different. Yeah,
and search history is disgusting.
absolutely.
That's a real invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
And
I don't
your
know why.
government's allowed it.
I don't know why they would pass this. It makes no
Well, the
sense.
comment is it's putting profits over users' privacy, which is quite correct. Isn't it?
Mhm.
Seems that way, doesn't it?
Hopefully, I mean, it's that all that means that the provider can do that, right? That doesn't mean that they have to. So
It means that they're enabled to do it now if they want to.
Yeah.
Which isn't a good thing, but what can you do? They've passed it now, so
right, it's there. But again, that does not change the laws in England.
No.
This
No,
only
it
changes
doesn't.
what's going on in the States. And
I dare say we'll follow suit, and they'll probably put something through that will allow the same over here as well. We usually do.
well, I mean, you still have to. Obviously, this was not publicized enough that people could yell about it.
Hmm.
And people could still yell about it when they find out. And
Well, changing laws when they've been put in place is a whole lot harder, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah. All right, it's that time of day again, guys.
It is.
That time already.
It was, yep, and it was a lot of fun. For me, anyway.
Well, that's the main thing. Enjoyed it.
All right, any last words?
None here.
Well, apart
Okay.
from look after yourselves and have a good week, there's nothing from me.
That's good enough. All right, so thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9. Until then, you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.